You're listening to the Product Coalition podcast with Jay Stansell. This is where product mastery happens. This is where careers are made. Welcome to the Product Coalition podcast. Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Product Coalition podcast. Now, today's guest is someone who embodies what it means to lead with both innovation and intention in the world of product management. Raksha Vashishta is a fintech product leader who's architected multi-million-dollar revenue-generating payment automation systems that have transformed enterprise operations, but all the while keeping the human at the center of the digital experience. With a background spanning business analysis to enterprise ERP integration, Raksha doesn't just optimize systems, she genuinely optimizes the outcomes as well. But Raksha's story goes far beyond the code and the roadmaps. Raksha is the founder of Her Tech Story, a mission-driven platform amplifying the voices of women in tech, especially those from immigrant and underrepresented backgrounds. Raksha's work here is all about breaking down barriers and building pathways through storytelling, mentorship, and community. Now, Raksha also dedicates time to shaping the next generation of tech talent, from mentoring at the Mentor Club and PCV for small business to coaching hackathon teams and speaking at Women in Tech events. She's committed to empowering others as much as she is to driving results. Her approach to product leadership is holistic, blending strategic thinking, deep technical knowledge, and an unwavering belief that real digital transformation happens when we invest not just in the systems, but in the people behind them too. Raksha, I'm thrilled to have you on the show. Welcome to the Product Coalition podcast.
Thank you so much, Jay. That was one of the nicest introduction that I've had about myself. Appreciate it so much. Looking forward to it.
Raksha, it's an absolute pleasure and you're very, very welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about the MVP of your career. Now, to get us going, before we jump into the details of it, why did you feel that this was an important title for a podcast that would attract the audience? And why were you so passionate about going into this topic today?
Absolutely. Great question. So in my case, I had, as an immigrant who just moved from India to United States, basically with nothing but like a bachelor's degree and probably an internship experience, and had to unlearn and relearn a lot of things from scratch about American workplace, tech industry as a whole, and how to network when you have literally no connections in a country. I felt it was a very unconventional path, mainly also because I come from a non-technical background. I moved from finance to tech uh, as part of my career transition here in US. So all these things not just help me grow as a person, but also I believe that it helped me become a better product person. So currently at my work at Vera Mobility, we serve wide range of clients who are both government agencies and rental car companies, and we build solutions and design products uh, who are trying to navigate payment solutions. So I felt the MVP of what I offer as a woman in tech and an immigrant woman in tech, I felt it was very apt considering the journey that I have previously had. And that was the reason I came up with that.
And fantastic. Look, I can certainly relate. I've been an immigrant myself. I started my career. I was born in England, educated in England, moved to Australia, which is where I started my career 25 years ago, and then 5 years ago moved to Portugal. So I can certainly relate to both the ups and the downs, to everything that I'm sure you're going to share. But you're going to bring a new unique angle that I'm really excited to go into more so, which is that component of being a female in the industry, and as you say, not developing your career starting from tech but moving from finance into tech as well. So I'm really excited to go into this. Let's just go back to the start here though, Raksha. Your journey in tech as an immigrant in the USA. Could you talk me through, what were the feelings at the start of that journey for you when you were beginning? You landed in the USA, and what was that first month and quarter like for you, to constrain just those moments for us?
Absolutely. And so, I mean, I would consider myself as somebody who loves to solve problems, not just because I'm in product management space, but also because that's something which comes very inherently to me. So when I actually like came to United States, I had to learn things the hard way. Like things were not inherently and implicitly familiar to me. So being an immigrant woman in tech means you're constantly code switching, right? Like between cultures, expectations, and different versions of yourself. I would like to call this as like a triple barrier because like I had to literally like face cultural adaptation, the culture back in my country, India, and how things are here in US are very different in a lot of space. And also there is always a factor of unconscious bias when like people are trying to, I mean, people really want to help you, like be it in your network or like somebody or some of your like professors or like colleagues. But there's always this unconscious bias back of their mind about what value can you actually bring, right? And also another challenge that I would say is like establishing some sort of a technical credibility, especially because I come from business and like finance background. So establishing that uh, technical knowledge is something which can be learned and which you need not know inherently is something which I really feel was a challenging aspect for me.
Nice. I'm sure, Raksha, today we're going to have potential immigrants moving to different countries all around the world that are going to be listening to this episode. Thinking back to those early moments, changing countries, changing cultures, what would you say to your younger self back then? What advice would you give to that person?
If I had to go back in time and actually like kind of give an advice to my younger self, I think it would be like probably three things. First being own your authentic self and don't shy away from actually leveraging that. For me, that was finance, right? And my unique value proposition that I was bringing to the table was knowing that I come from a finance background. And I stopped trying to fit into this mold of what actually product management looks like in technical sense. And I use my finance background and immigrant perspective and also a little bit of like storytelling capability to differentiate myself from the rest. And that really helped me like presenting my business case in like front of different stakeholders and folks from finance. And also like I used to have meetings with my CFOs, wherein my finance background really helped me. And next would be to build some sort of technical credibility. I think we all living in the age of AI completely understand this, that even though you particularly are from a non-technical role or you are performing job duties which are not technical in nature, but AI is going to impact your job. I don't necessarily think AI will take all the product management roles, but I definitely do think the roles which are leveraging AI for their work will replace the ones that don't. So building some sort of a technical credibility and not just learning tools, right? Like taking a SQL course or taking like basic coding course and understanding like system architecture. You don't have to be an engineer, but you need to like speak their language. So really understanding that really helps. And be ready to create your own opportunities. I think that's something which I strongly believe. Like, don't wait for a perfect role to land on your table. And that's one of the reasons I started like Her Tech Stories, because I couldn't find like representation that I needed. I really wanted like real people, real talks, and real stories that like people of minorities and like immigrant background can actually like read and feel seen. So sometimes you have to like build your own table if you have to actually like um, show your value proposition. So it's really important. And some of the mindset shifts apart from like these three things that help me, the fact that I used to have this like imposter syndrome. Coming from a finance business background, not actually very technical in nature, do I actually like belong in these rooms? But you need to like keep watching that to yourself, that you do belong. Like from like move your mind from perfection to progress. Like you don't have to be perfect every single time. Like any learning that you're doing every single day is gonna like add up and compound in the long run. So yeah, those are the things I would probably tell my younger self.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, what you're talking about there are transitionable career skills that will serve you well throughout your whole career, whether that's moving from finance into product or product into something else later on. Can I ask, Raksha, for those that are listening and watching in India who are yet to make that move, what advice would you be giving them to build on these transitional career skills now before they take on that immigrant journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that whichever role you're in, like try to actually look at things from a product perspective. What do I mean when I say like look at things from a product perspective is like try to see the problems that you're solving in your roles. Probably you're making an impact on somebody's day to day like life at their job. Like for example, when I started out, I realized that the products that I was working and the work that I was doing was impacting the finance team, the billing team within my company, who were actually like spending hours and hours like trying to do some of these manual process which we were automating. And that really helped me. I mean, that truly helped me. And something which an experience before that I delved into product management, as I was interning for this company called Tribo, which is like an aggregator for all the hotels back in India. So during my internship, I just like was able to make an observation that there was a reduction in the collection rate during the monsoon season in India. And that was something which just naturally came to me because I believe that I have a little bit of problem solving mindset. And when I brought it up, there was a product team and an engineering team like looking into it and figuring out like what could be done to improve those metrics. So I would definitely say like whichever role that you are in, like try to look from a problem solving mindset and not necessarily from just like doing your day to day job. Like try to look at a holistic picture, like whose life are you affecting by your job and who is going to be impacted by the products that you are building. Like be it you're a software engineer or like somebody from finance as me. I think it's really important to have like a big picture in mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's go into some of the tools and skills that have helped you excel. I know, as I say, I know firsthand as an immigrant, you land in a foreign country, you got to build a network. You're not feeling confident, but you're incredibly excited. And then that honeymoon period ends, and you start missing home, and you're not sure. You start to identify more with the country you're in than the country you're from. And I've been through some of those, but that experience, I feel, helped me build some people skills and some human skills that I probably didn't have before I left my home country. Can I ask, Raksha, what are some of the skills that's helped you excel now landing and being and building a career in USA?
Yeah. So I would say like from a soft skill standpoint, right? Like
Yeah.
I think it's a non-negotiable for everyone to think from a finance standpoint. I mean, all the companies, at least from my experience of like working here in US, and we also have like our counterparts in Australia, Europe, and India. So I do understand like a lot of these global companies how they operate. So what has really helped me is trying to see like what are the financial metrics that directly impact your role. Like for me, my MBA background and building like a investment use case for my CFO, was really helpful. Like it really helped me show what value in monetary terms that I can bring to the table. So I think this is not just because I come from a finance background, but I think everybody need to start thinking in this aspect. And the second would be stakeholder translation and kind of like continuous feedback loop. That is extremely important. Like all the work that anybody in like product management and software space is doing is for sure going to impact someone out there. And there are like stakeholders trying to understand like what is happening, like what are we building, and they're always like interested to know the nitty gritty details of the products, and also like in terms of like business value, what it is bringing, right? So for me, like speaking in terms of like in technical terms with my engineers and like building a business language of fluency with my business stakeholders, it was extremely helpful. And I think the leverage that I had was being an immigrant myself. It gives me a unique user sympathy that I naturally like to think about the edge cases and like diverse user needs, which typically homogeneous teams might not think. An example for this was like we were trying to like build a product which was more global in nature, like a payment system which could be used in multiple countries. And I think it was just me, only voice in the room, was saying that probably we need to have like multiple different languages. Like we need to allow people to have like translation and these payment details in their native language, which is more friendly for that particular like user who is like probably based out of some European country, or like be it like some part of India. And I think that was extremely helpful. That was really helpful in improving our collection rates and like chargeback rates within our company.
Staying in this space, Raksha, I'm keen to learn from you. What was a significant cultural difference that you had to adapt? And then the reason I'm asking that is I think many people could learn from you who are going to go on that journey. But I also think that many people on the hiring side who may be hiring immigrants
Mhm.
from India can be mindful of when they're hiring and onboarding new team members. So, what was the big cultural thing for you in the workplace that you found yourself doing different at the most significant end compared to when you was in India?
Absolutely. I think one of the major like cultural difference for me was just like translating the work that you do in terms of like in a business language, which is more like valuable to your like SLT members and executives, and also like trying to build a storytelling. I don't think that's a concept like back in India.
Okay.
I mean, I know like Indian work culture is very different, and we focus like more on actually like getting the task done. Like there's a blueprint as to like what you're supposed to do with your job, and you just stick to it. But coming into states and like working here as a product owner, like for me the major thing was actually like trying to draft a story around the problems, right? Like trying to actually like convey the importance of things that we are doing. And that really helped me. I wouldn't, I mean, not just in my professional life, but also like in my personal life, I was able to like communicate better, like with my friends, with my colleagues, and that also helps with my interpersonal skills. But I would say like uh, using data to do storytelling is one of the major difference that I inculcated after moving to States.
Fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate that sharing that only you could give. So that's fantastic. Next up, Raksha, in the introduction there, I spoke about so much that you've achieved or that you have going on right now. It sounds like you really think about your life from a holistic perspective. It sounds like you give a lot back as well as turn up to work. Could you talk me through, what are the important values to you to ensure that you have a great lifestyle that you love that is holistically making you happy?
Yeah, I think great question. Extremely important. There's this misconception that anything that you do outside of your work should be a side hustle and should give you like some sort of like monetary income, right? But I completely don't agree with that. Like for me, like writing in a publication or like serving as a guest speaker as I'm doing right now, or like trying to find a community or build a community like her tech story aren't any separate from my product leadership roles. They actually like make me better at it. In fact, like they actually like help me like expand and think what I'm actually connected to. And there is always this compounding effect for whatever you do, right? So when I write, it helps me clarify some of my thoughts, my own thinking, and suddenly like I'm seen as like someone with a point of view in a space. So me like writing for some of these like journals or like writing some of these articles in Medium, it also like helps me build my own opinion in this space, and that's extremely important. And as you mentioned earlier in my intro, I also like do mentoring for small businesses as part of like PCV mentoring, and business professionals as part of the mentoring club. So when I mentor these other like uh, human beings, and specifically like women, I think I end up like learning a lot more than I actually like what I feel I would offer to them. And this is like a two-way street. There is this quote saying that service is the rent that we pay for living, and I strongly believe in that. Like I definitely credit the stage that I'm in to a lot of people and mentors that have actually like helped me through my journey, and it's extremely important. And also, I feel like creating or building a community just like yours, like Product Coalition, great community by the way. This creates like real relationships which are not like transactional in nature. So there is always like a better energy around. There is always like a better what do you say? It's always nice to hear real stories. I mean, it's all nice, like seeing the numbers. Oh, my product like generated a revenue worth so much, or like cut down cost by so much. But it's always like really nice, like relating with people, seeing someone going through the same journey as yours. I think it's very soul fulfilling, if that's a word at all. So I
Yeah.
definitely would say that me being an immigrant has brought like a diverse perspective to all these things. And none of these things that I told, like giving back to the community or building a community of your own, uh, or trying to serve for somebody who was previously, or like who is like 4 or 5 years into the journey. I think it really, really makes me feel very fulfilled in life as a whole, and also brings me like a better perspective as a product person.
We definitely share those common values and common benefits of those values. I think there, Raksha, the
Mm,
coalition community has honestly, it's put me in such a privileged position to connect with people like you and many others all over the world. As I get to nearly 100 plus podcast episodes, in particular, but having thousands of people connect with me Slack over the last 11 years is an incredible good feeling. But I think it comes from a place that's so unique because there's no transaction involved. No one's trying to sell something to
exactly.
someone. It's purely knowledge sharing for the benefit of us all. And I honestly believe and hope that it's for the development of the craft of product management as well. I want to shine the light back
Absolutely.
on her tech story that you started though. Her tech story. What inspired you to start it, and what impact are you already seeing?
Yeah, great question. This is a passion project of mine. Again, like I am just like so into it, and I'm just like, it just makes me feel like so alive, if that's a word even, you know. So what motivated me is, as I told you earlier, like as an immigrant coming into this country, and especially like navigating a transition from finance to a a product management role. I wouldn't call it technical though. What made me, I mean, it made me realize that there are so many people and women in general who has so much to give and who has so much value that they can bring to the table, and their diverse perspective is probably going to like be magical at a right workplace. And it all takes like somebody to actually believe in you, somebody to actually just mentor you, somebody who has been in your space, who has been in your journey, like me just like listening to a story of some of these South Asian like women in tech and how they navigated uh, these spaces. I mean, I was really inspired, and I wanted to like spread that inspiration to a larger public. And also, like her tech story is specifically focused on South Asian women in tech. I mean, recently in one of my other talks, I was talking about this. There are only about like 23% of women who are doing cybersecurity roles as of today. So, I mean, it's really concerning to me. This is a global number, because when you don't have diverse perspectives, when you're building products and building guardrails, especially in the age of I don't think we are serving a holistic population. And more people need to come out, more and more people need to share their stories and inspire somebody out there to just take up the same journey as yours.
Fantastic. Let's stay with that moment there from an inspiration perspective. Raksha, for the 16 to 22-year-old ladies listening and watching you talk today, if you were in that age bracket right now, what advice would you be wanting to hear or wish you could have heard back when you were between the age of 16 to 22, when what feels like the
Mm.
most important lifelong decisions are coming at you, and they're coming at you thick and fast, and you've got a lot of pressures from family and community and culturally around what you're going to be doing for what is perceived to be the rest of your life. You know, if you had that audience right now, what advice would you give to those women?
Absolutely. Um, so here is the thing. I would like to start off by saying that I think as women, your intuition is going to be your like biggest weapon, I would say. There's always this voice in our mind and like voice in our heart, which is prompting us to do certain things, which we always keep saying, no, not really. Like, don't focus on that. Focus on like what you're supposed to do, what like society considers to be uh, like good for you, or like people around sometimes also like force things into you. I would definitely say that trust your intuition. I think all of us already know what we want to be. I mean, definitely there are like transitions that happen throughout life, and like there are like various these curveballs which are thrown at you that make you like pivot your path. But I think deep inside, we really know the life that we want to live. Like, what kind of lifestyle do we want to live? Those are the kind of things. Don't don't put down or suppress that noise. That's an advice that I would give. And also, like second would be like acknowledge your unique perspective. I think all of us as human beings come from a very different journey. Like as you told, like your journey of like moving from like Australia to Portugal, and like really inspiring. I mean, for somebody who wants to build a similar community like yours, I think your journey would be highly valuable. And knowing that you could do, I think it can inspire someone else to do the same, do something similar as well, right? And also like try to stay true to your authentic self, and advocate for yourself constantly. I mean, it's okay like if you feel unheard or unseen. I think being confident in your like own skin and your authentic self will go a long way. these are the things I would say.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Raksha. Raksha, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you a little bit and your personal story, and I appreciate you bringing that to the audience today. But also your perspective and your advice for those listening in. So I really want to give you a big thank you for coming on the show, making yourself vulnerable, and coming here to tell your story and sharing your knowledge as well.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute pleasure, and thank you, Jay, for having me on the show. I mean, it's I think it's really important that women speak up more, especially women in tech, and all about their journeys and their vulnerabilities and how they made it through. So that even if you can inspire one person out there, I think it's worth it. So yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and yeah, it was amazing. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you, Raksha. And thank you to everyone listening to this podcast episode from Product Coalition. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you'd like to learn more about Product Coalition, please head over to productcoalition.com. Until the next episode, thank you very much.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Product Coalition podcast, hosted by Jay Stansell. Got questions or want to explore more topics? Connect with Jay on LinkedIn or join the ever-growing Product Coalition community on Substack. Thanks for listening.